Picture this: a vast, sun-scorched landscape in Australia. The air is still, the earth is red, and hopping through the sparse vegetation is a rabbit. Cute, right? Fluffy, harmless, a symbol of Easter and childhood stories. But in Australia, this seemingly innocent creature is public enemy number one. It's the target of what you might call the longest, most expensive, and most brutal war in the country's history. A war that sees up to 200 million rabbits culled every single year. But why? How did this adorable animal become the villain in a continental scale drama? The story is a shocking lesson in ecological disaster. It all started back in 1859. An English settler named Thomas Austin, living near Geelong, Victoria, felt a pang of nostalgia. He missed hunting back home. So he imported 24 wild European rabbits and released them onto his property, famously saying the introduction of a few rabbits could do little harm and might provide a touch of home, in addition to a spot of hunting. Little did he know, he wasn't just releasing a few rabbits. He was unleashing an ecological catastrophe. Those 24 rabbits were about to start the most successful biological invasion ever recorded. You see, Australia was the perfect paradise for a rabbit. The climate was mild, there was plenty of food, and most importantly, there were no natural predators like foxes or weasels to keep their numbers in check. Rabbits are famously fast breeders. A single pair can produce up to 40 offspring in a year. Their young are ready to breed in just a few months. Though they met within a decade, those original 24 rabbits had exploded into millions. They spread across the continent at a staggering rate of 130 kilometers per year. By the 1920s, an estimated 10 billion rabbits roamed Australia. That's more rabbits than there are humans on Earth today. This rabbit plague wasn't just a numbers game, it was an environmental nightmare. Imagine billions of tiny mouths all munching away. They devoured everything in their path. Native grasses, seedlings, and shrubs were stripped bare, leaving the soil exposed and vulnerable. This led to massive soil erosion. Without plant roots to hold it together, precious topsoil was blown away by the wind or washed away by the rain. Entire landscapes were transformed from lush vegetation into barren, dusty waste. The rabbits were literally eating Australia to death. They competed with native wildlife for food and shelter, pushing many unique Australian species like the greater bilby and the yellow-footed rockwallaby towards the brink of extinction. The impact on agriculture was just as devastating. Farmers watched in horror as their crops were decimated overnight. Sheep and cattle ranchers found their pastures grazed down to nothing, unable to support their livestock. The economic cost was astronomical, running into billions of dollars. The country was in crisis. Something had to be done. So began Australia's relentless, century-long war on the rabbit. The first line of defense was simple but exhausting: trapping, shooting, and fumigating burrows with poison gas. People tried everything. They even built massive fences. The most famous of these was the rabbit-proof fence in Western Australia, constructed between 1901 and 1907. It was actually 3 fences stretching over 3,200 kilometers. The idea was to create a barrier to stop the rabbits' westward advance. It was an incredible feat of engineering, the longest fence in the world at the time. But it was ultimately a failure. Rabbits are clever. They dug under it. People left gates open. and the sheer scale of the fence made it impossible to maintain perfectly. The bunnies just kept coming. It was clear that conventional warfare wasn't going to win this fight. Australia needed a new, more radical weapon. So they turned to biological warfare. In the 1950s, scientists made a breakthrough. They identified a virus called myxomatosis, which was deadly to European rabbits, but harmless to native Australian animals and humans. It was a game changer. The virus was released into the rabbit population, and the effect was immediate and dramatic. It spread like wildfire, transmitted by fleas and mosquitoes. Within 2 years, the rabbit population crashed from an estimated 600 million down to 100 million. It was a staggering success, killing over 99% of infected rabbits in some areas. For a while, it seemed the war was finally won. The land began to recover, and native plants started to reappear. But nature always finds a way. The rabbits that survived the myxomavirus were the ones with natural genetic resistance. They passed this resistance on to their offspring. Over time, the virus became less lethal, and the rabbits became more immune. By the 1990s, their numbers were rebounding, climbing back up to 200 to 300 million. The plague was returning. Australia needed another silver bullet. This time, it came in the form of another virus, the rabbit hemorrhagic disease virus, or RHDV. First released in 1996, this virus, also known as calicivirus, was just as effective as myxomatosis had been decades earlier. It attacked the rabbit's internal organs and was incredibly swift. Once again, rabbit populations plummeted across the country. Today, the war continues. It's a constant, ongoing battle of wits between scientists and rabbits. New strains of the calicivirus, like RH-DMB2, have emerged and are now the primary tool for rabbit control. Alongside these viruses, traditional methods like baiting with poisons like 1080, ripping up warrens with heavy machinery, and coordinated shooting programs are still used. It's a multi-pronged strategy. The goal is no longer complete eradication. That's seen as impossible. Instead, the focus is on management, keeping the rabbit numbers low enough to allow the fragile Australian ecosystem to function and to protect its vital agriculture industry. That's why, even today, up to 200 million rabbits are culled every year. So when you see that fluffy bunny, remember its story in Australia. It's a powerful and tragic reminder of what can happen when we interfere with nature. A simple act of nostalgia, the release of just 24 rabbits, triggered an environmental disaster that the country is still fighting over 160 years later. It's a story of unintended consequences, ecological devastation, and a desperate, unending war against a deceptively cute invader. The humble rabbit stands as a powerful symbol of how delicate ecosystems are and the catastrophic price of getting it wrong. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the world around us.